Dear students, after understanding the meaning of the term liability, let's understand the other term, expense or expenses. The term expense refers to the amount incurred in the process of earning revenue. If the benefit of an expenditure is limited to 1 year, it is treated as an expense, also known as revenue expenditure, such as payment of salaries and rent. Expense here means, please understand, when business earn any income or revenue, definitely it has to incur some expenses. So that amount which is incurred in the process of earning of the revenue or income known as the expenses. Now the word expense is also termed as expenditure and categorized into three special categories. First, it is called the capital expenditure. Second, it is revenue expenditure. And third, it is the deferred revenue expenditure. Now here go through to the definition. If the benefit of an expenditure is limited to 1 year, it is treated as an expense, also known as revenue expenditure, such as payment of salaries and rent. So please understand that expense or expenditure is categorized into three types. One, it is the capital expenditure. Second, it is revenue expenditure. And third, it is the deferred revenue expenditure. Let's understand the meaning of capital expenditure. Any expenditure which qualifies or completes three conditions known as the capital expenditure. First, it is relating to the purchase of the long-term assets or non-current assets. Second, it is the benefit is available over a long period of time, more than 1 year, and it is of non-recurring nature, not to be done again and again. Any type of expenditure which passes these three important conditions known as the capital expenditure. For example, purchase of building, plant, machinery, vehicles, etc. Second type of expenditure is known as the revenue expenditure, which means any expenditure which satisfied three basic conditions. First, it is that it is not relating to the purchase of non-current or fixed assets. It is relating to the day-to-day expenses. Second is the benefit of this is available only to a period of 1 year. And finally, it is of recurring nature to be done again and again. Any expenditure which satisfied these three conditions known as the revenue expenditure. Third type of expenditure is known as the deferred revenue expenditure. If we delete the prefix word deferred, the left out word is the revenue expenditure. It means that expenditure which is of revenue in nature, but the benefit is available more than 1 year. Now how it is different? That capital expenditure benefit is available more than 1 year. Revenue expenditure, the benefit is limited only up to a period of 1 year. But deferred revenue expenditure is that expenditure, the benefit of which is available over a long period of time, but it is of revenue nature. For example, when a business starts producing or selling the new product or services first time in the market, they incurred a very heavy advertising expenditure. Now, advertising expenditure is not relating to the capital expenditure, but the benefit of this is available over a long period of time. Once the expenditure is done by the seller, the benefit is available over a long period of time of that advertisement. So such type of the expenditure is known as the deferred revenue expenditure. Now let's discuss the other very important term known as assets. Now what we mean by the term assets? Practically, assets had a very comprehensive and simple meaning. All the resources on which a business has its ownership, they are known as the assets of business. वो जितनी भी प्रॉपर्टीज हैं जो कि बिजनेस ने ओन की हुई हैं, they all are called as the assets of a business. An asset is a property of value owned by a business. Physical objects and intangible rights such as money, accounts receivables, merchandise or goods, machinery, building and inventories of stock, for sale are common examples of business assets as they have economic value for the owner. फिर बता रहा हूँ, जितने भी रिसोर्सेज हैं, जितनी भी प्रॉपर्टीज हैं जो कि बिजनेस की पास ओन है और बिजनेस है, देयर ओनरशिप इज नोन एज द एसेट्स ऑफ ए बिजनेस. नाउ जितनी भी एसेट्स हैं बिजनेस की, दे कुड बी डिवाइडेड इनटू 3 मेन ग्रुप्स. 2 ग्रुप्स में कुछ बुक्स में आपको डिवीजन मिलेगा, बट अल्टीमेटली 2 ग्रुप्स भी 3 पार्ट्स ही हैं. फर्स्ट इज नोन एज द करंट एसेट्स, second is known as the non-current or fixed assets, and non-current or fixed assets, they are divided into 2 subcategories, tangible and intangible assets. Now I hope you understood the meaning of the assets, all the resources of a business who has the ownership. Now what we mean by the current assets? Current assets here means all the resources, all the properties that can be turned back into cash within a year considered as the current assets. Current asset here means all the resources including cash and other items that can be turned back into cash within a year are considered as the current assets of a business. It may include cash, bank balance, short-term investment, marketable securities, investments which are having a short duration of maturity, inventories or stock, debtors, accounts receivables, all that. All these assets are categorized as the current assets. Now come to the fixed assets or non-current assets. It refers to tangible assets that are used in the business. Commonly, fixed assets are long-lived resources that are used in the production of finished goods such as building, land, equipment, furniture. Please understand, fixed assets or non-current assets are those assets which remains with the business over a long period of time. They are categorized again into 2 subparts. One is known as the tangible fixed assets or tangible non-current assets, and other are intangible fixed assets or non-current assets. Now tangible fixed assets are building, plant, machinery, land, furniture, equipments, all that. Because they are tangible. Tangibility means all the items which had the sense of seeing, which can be feel, which can be touched, they are tangible. So first category of non-current assets are categorized as the tangible assets. Examples are building, land, equipment, furniture. The second category of asset which is known as the intangible assets. Now intangible assets here means all the assets which are intangible, which does not have any physical existence. For example, copyrights, patents, trademarks, goodwill, but they are having the market and they can be sold in the market like the other assets. It refers to assets that are not physical assets like plant, building, machinery, furniture, fixtures, but they are having the value. They can be licensed or sold outright in the market. For example, copyrights, patents, trademarks, goodwill, etc. Likewise, there is another very important type of the asset that is known as the fictitious or nominal assets. How they differ with the intangible assets? Because intangible assets are also not visible. They can also not be touched. Same way, the fictitious or nominal assets, they can also not be feel or touch. So how they differ? Fictitious or nominal assets are those assets which are shown only in the books of account for accounting purpose and they does not have any market value. In interviews and in the examination, we generally ask a question, difference between intangible assets and the fictitious assets. Please understand the difference. Intangible assets like copyright, patents, trademark, goodwill and other, they had the market value like the other assets, but fictitious or nominal assets, they does not have any market value. They cannot be sold in the market. For example, debit balance of profit and loss account, advertising suspense account, underwriting commission, preliminary expenses, discount on issue of debenture, discount on issue of shares. These all are some of the examples of fictitious or nominal assets. So this way we had also understood the meaning of the term asset. I would continue in my next video relating to the other basic terms.